funny. I say all these absolutes, boom, boom, and this is the eighth one in the world, this is the way it is. And then I go, I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah.
There's one other bit of intimacy before we go on that I want to ask about. There's a couple of places you've said this in the book, and I haven't quite got a line or a phrase that encapsulates it properly. But you said here there's a general consensus about self-centered independence. In order to be happy with someone else, you must first have an overall sense of happiness within yourself. You can't find your happiness in another. And that's like the common teaching of self-help of this day, which is your happiness completely comes from within. It's not derived from any external circumstances. We generate that ourselves, or we don't.
And we're taught that that's the ideal.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with yourself. You have to come from create from self, right?
So what's your thought on that?
Well, I think, we've never had this, we've always belonged. We've always shared our experiences. So there's a question in there. Is that teaching and that train of thought, which is 150 years old or so, that, with the industrial age, anybody can succeed. Anybody, there's all the hierarchies and the case systems and all that kind of stuff just kind of melted away. Anybody can go from poor to rich. It's the American dream. Racial algebra and all that kind of stuff. And that's just a question about it. Because we do. I read the rest of it. It says, our experiences are amplified once shared. If you're sharing that with somebody, it's a greater experience overall. You've seen the Grand Canyon, that's breathtaking and wow. But if you're sharing with somebody you love, and they're having the same spiritual experience with the Grand Canyon, that amplifies the whole thing. And it creates a better you than you were before.
I really like how you've, you see there's a correlation between this worldview of that happiness comes from within and this industrial age of the last 150 years. And it's like, again, going back to these marriage counseling books and self-help and so on, it's like all that movement is a break away from your codependent, needy past and helping establishing you as an independent adult, like high-functioning adult in the world that can generate its own success and feelings and so on.
Right.
And I feel like just in the last couple of years, moving into a new paradigm, which is actually that's kind of boring and doesn't feel like it's true or enough anymore. Mm-hmm. And there was this moment where I remember being in a cafe with Knut, our friend Knut, and trying to eat this food, but at the same time trying to vomit, and he's telling jokes and laughing at me, and I'm crying at the same time because I'm heartbroken over this woman that I've met, and it's complicated. And he sits there and says one of the self-help phrases of the day. He's like, Jordan, you're only feeling your thinking. Your happiness has no relevance to your external circumstances. It's just your thoughts that are fueling this weird feeling. And I look at him and we both laugh at each other in the moments, thinking that, there are all these different techniques and ideas to help you calm your state of mind down or put you into a nice place or an effective place for your work. But ultimately, I don't think anything is as powerful as that force of love. It's like,
of course,
at least in my experience, that overrides it all. And
all the coaching.
Yeah.
Of course.
That whole independent stage, I'm an independent, coherent, self-assuring, self-making, meaning-making man, goes out the window when there's some divine, beautiful new presence in my life.
That's for sure.
And I want to jump to the end of this chapter, actually, because there's a paragraph there. It says it so well. It's stunning. You're saying what love might be again, and all your paragraphs start with maybe.
That's why I end the chapter.
You say, maybe true love is an ancient sentiment, as described by the greatest Italian poet Dante. The moment I saw her, I say in all truth that the vital spirit which dwells in the inmost depths of the heart became to tremble so violently that I felt the vibration alarmingly in all my pulses, even the weakest of them. As it trembled, it uttered these words, "Behold a God more powerful than I who comes to rule over me."
Yeah, you know exactly what that feels like. Comes to rule over me.
Yeah. So under the power of that God that comes to rule over you, you're only feeling your thinking or your favourite stuff.
all kinds of platitudes.
Yeah. Your self-made man theme of the day
goes out the window.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting actually, because most of this whole, be detached from the scenario thing comes from like Buddhism or like Eastern philosophy. But even in that, they're still pursuing other things as well. They're saying don't be attached, but they're still pursuing beauty and heart and a good career and honest spirit as well. So to say like, they're just completing their self is only a half truth. Even they're still saying you've got to pursue beauty and love and authenticity. Well, I guess I'm not an expert in it, but I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to the philosophy of life now. When we're in this age now where we kind of took over from the absurdists, and I don't know, guys. It's like, and here's the thing: I'm making comments about love and relationships when I have read no books on love and relationships. There might be a more coherent and more appropriate statements or people who have examined it more than I in my wistful way that said, relationships are really this. And so this concept that I'm saying, because I hear it, that we're taught that come from yourself and you have to love yourself first before you can love another and all these things. And yet and so there's just a question in there of what I've observed and what I've heard and what I've examined and who I've talked to. And this whole chapter could be like, because it is all speculation. It's all speculation. Maybe it's this. Maybe love is that. And as you can tell, I haven't read any modern books about relationships. I read some of the classics, like history books. Because there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new that I'm saying here that hasn't been said 2,000 years ago. Of course.
I want to touch on what you said.
Yeah.
Because I think that whole happiness comes from within is a beautiful thing to establish within yourself, to not fall into more darkness. But in my experience, my greatest moments and my greatest happiness and actually comes from the quality of connection I have with others. Yeah. Like if I didn't do this special with you guys and just feel like the quality of that connection, like there's no mountain I could climb or no beautiful, and I've traveled the world, right? 7 continents or whatever. There's no trip that I could do that would be as beautiful as those 9 days, or when I did it with a woman. We went in a car to a tropical island. And even thinking, like you mentioned, like Buddhism and enlightenment, and again, I want to talk in maybes because it's not like I've explored this to the depths. But a lot of the contemporary spiritual thinkers are saying, actually, you know what? That whole let's go alone and meditate our way to enlightenment, that's an old paradigm.
Wow.
And the new kind of waking up is being done in groups. It's not like we're all going to wake up separately and individually with our 10-day meditation retreats on the top of the mountain. People are now saying, there's a statement somewhere which is the next coming of the Christ, it's not going to be an individual, it's going to be in community. The next coming of Christ consciousness, or that kind of love and peace and message for the world, is going to come as a collective energy, a collective movement. And there's a big movement towards this. Let's wake up together with each other, challenge each other, and love each other, and that's how we're going to go to the next stage.
It goes back to what you were saying before, though, about it's your perception of yourself is skewed. You cannot find out who you are without other people.
Yeah, I believe in that too. I believe in the concept of community and the gatherings like this, even this. It's a co-created gathering, and I don't think we, especially in this internet age, we've lost it. You can feel that. I mean, that's all the next chapter. Right? Really.
I don't think anyone ever figured out the meaning of love. or the mystery of love by sitting on the mountain alone. I think they might come back with a peaceful or an intellectual understanding, but I think the answers to these questions are like a felt thing. It's like you can't write them, but you can feel them, and they come out of the entanglement and the frustration and the dance and the endless head scratching with the women,
Yep.
with your friends,
never ends.
business partners, I guess,
Yeah.
but with
Yeah.
the women especially.
And we should probably point out we're talking all deep philosophical, and none of us here prescribe in particular philosophy or worldview. What we are talking about is the spirit of, it's not just these independence, it's the shared experience
Yes.
that's important going forward. Just a clarification point, I guess.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, I mean, like, there's communities, there's individuals, there's gurus, there's trains of thought, there's religions, there's new religions. And everyone's trying to latch onto something that has meaning, that seems aligned with my experience and with what I want, and you know, and yet I think it's all been explored. In sometimes in the past, you know, like it just comes back in cycles. You know, every hairstyle has been explored, every type of politics has been explored, every type of government, everything you can think of has been attempted or explored or, you know, studied, and it's the same with this. Every type of way of relating between a man and woman has been explored in the past, and we just come back around with new realizations that we think, oh, this is the new way, and this is the new direction that we're going, and it's a great thing. But we've been there before. That's my point.
Is there a clear sense of where's next for you?
Personally, or in the world in general?
No, for you personally. Like, I mean, when you sit there and think of your life in 90 days' time, is there something new on your radar that you want to travel and do or explore in this area?
I'm going to write more. Yeah. I haven't written anything since this book was done because I've been thinking a lot, that's why. Something's cooking, man. I don't know, it's not going to be anything like this. And that's my ambition, is to sit and think and write more. Yeah. That has me excited. In a general sense. I mean, like, you know, I'm going to travel here and I've got plans to go there. But those are just, you know, the plans that, in the traditional saying that God laughs when you make plans, you know, when they change.
Yeah.
Because you said that you're a seeker, or you've been a
Yeah.
seeker. There's nothing like, oh, I must go and, I don't know, go to Nepal and contemplate this in the context of
No.
God, or
But
hunt down this speaker.
if you read behind the scenes of this book, you can read it at very surface too, I guess, you know, and just say, okay, here's my lesson I got about that. Girls are saying this and they mean this, which is very surface, but there's an underlying, maybe it's not obvious, but it's obvious to me. And I wrote this book for myself. And it's an allegory, as I said. And it's cobbled together dreams and thoughts and ideas. And and it's very much a journey. The book is a journey spirit to me. This whole book has movement to me from beginning to end. I can feel that to me. And it's a book written to my young self, so that I would have a bit of an understanding or a roadmap, or just kind of a expression to myself that it's okay. It's going to be okay. And the whole book for me is a very spiritual one. The underlying theme is a journey from what we know to what we don't know, order to chaos, to great answers, to great questions, to, you know, to mystery, going further into the mystery of it all, which is ultimately, as I said in my poem, three things man's always searched for: the source of light, the perfect note, the alabaster girl. So those three things are my quest, and I'll always be devoted to it. So, yeah, I'm on a journey just like anybody else. I'm a seeker. I'm a treasure hunter. I'm trying to find the concept of relevance. What's a life of meaning? So, like anybody else. And anybody says that they've... I have a lot of skepticism when people say that hey, I've got the answer for you. You know? Because the more I've explored things in all my years, any kind of answer leads to greater questions. And so the questions are greater and greater and greater, and it ultimately is what is our relationship to the earth, to each other, and community, and our relationship to God, or the cosmos? What is all that? So yeah, I'm never going to stop trying to understand that journey of my life. And I'm going to keep writing about it and talking about it. And yeah. Because I'll say this. This is an interesting thought. And I haven't fully fleshed it out in my head at all. But I've been thinking about it strongly. I have this idea. You know, we've got, for instance, the various religions of the world. And we've got, and on the other side of the spectrum, there's a God element for a lot of religions. And then there's atheism. Atheism, which is like, it's purely scientific. And it's just atoms and it's just the Big Bang and the whole thing. But what is the common theme that we all seek? No matter what. In my mind, the common theme is beauty. Even the atheist gravitates toward beauty. Even the Christian, the Buddhist, they love beauty. And I think that when we're talking about the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, the variations on the Great Spirit for the Native Americans, I think, because we all have a concept of that, I think it's beauty. I think that's my concept, and I haven't fleshed it out, but I do believe that the Spirit of God is manifest in beauty. That's what I think. And everyone, I don't care if you're an atheist, whatever, you love beauty, whatever that is for you. There you go. That's philosophical, and I don't even know what I'm saying.
And that's way beyond women.
Oh yeah. This whole book is way beyond women. This book is a search. A search without it. There's not a nice ending or a pat ending at the end. It goes into mist.
This is interesting because you talk about the beginning saying your path, your biggest passion in life was women. But yet here we are in the way of love, and you're saying there's a limit to that, there's a danger in that, because if you make your whole meaning in life is wrapped up in a woman, you make herself an impossible ideal. And you're attracted to that ideal in life just as people are too attracted to their only source of meaning in life is their career or their relationships. You say here that he knows that she is just a girl, that she's not, nor she can ever be, that impossible ideal.
Yeah.
So you're still saying that even though this is a lofty goal, that the whole meaning, purpose of life isn't just about women. If it is, if you try and wrap that up in one girl, then it's going to be an impossible ideal.
No, I don't. No, that's not exactly what I'm saying.
No?
Because what I'm saying more is, when you give up the notion that an individual woman has to be the ideal, which we're all broken.
Yeah.
When you give up that and come to terms with that, say, make friends with that, say that, okay, that I understand. Then you don't, because that's not fair to do to anybody. And then you can relax in the notion that the woman you're with, in all her beauty and all her imperfections, is as ideal of a woman as you're ever going to find on this earth.
Right.
What a great thought. That's a great woman. Grass is always greener on the other side. We're always looking, maybe I want something else over here. But that's as good as it gets. The woman that you're in love with, who cares about you, who loves you, who wants you to be successful and happy in life, doesn't want you to be sick and sad, and sits there when you are sick and sad, that woman is as good as it gets on earth. It doesn't get better than that. And yet we're always seeking this mythical ideal.
Right.
So when I write about the Alabaster Girl, I'm not talking about the culmination of like, finally I'm going to get that girl. I'm talking about they're all the Alabaster Girl. They just don't know it. They all represent that, Plato's shapes and forms on the wall. They all represent the ideal sense of female spirit, feminine spirit. And they just don't understand it, and we don't either. It's a lofty, undeveloped, half-assed concept I have in my mind. I wrote a book about it.
So it seems like your entire approach to seduction and romance, and especially this theme you call higher standard, to call her and yourself to a higher standard, seems like you're wanting to draw out that essence of Alabaster Girl from the women that come into your life, to draw it out of them so that they see it and believe it and feel it, so that you can experience it and bathe in it and relax into it.
Yes.
And that you can live your lives as much as possible with that essence, like that essential beauty of the women that you're with.
It's interesting because I read, I can't remember where I read it, there's an anthropologist in the 1920s that was talking to like the tribes in the Amazon and stuff. And they didn't have the concept of, for instance, romantic love or the one. They say, well, if your woman dies, you just get another one. It's so obvious, But they had a wholeness and a completeness in their view of seeing it. I can't remember what I read, but it was very interesting what it said. But we're always, our generation, because there's such a me culture. And what about me? Our relationships are that. What about me? What are you going to do for me? What are you promising me for the next 5 years? Where are we in 5 years? What about me? Right? We have this whole concept of that all the time, that we're always looking over her shoulder because maybe there's a better woman coming along. We never really see the beauty that we're with and seek out the Alabaster Girl essence in her. So she feels it too, like you said. And if we would just pause and say, this is my girl, and it's as good as it's better than any girl on earth because she's smart enough that she's with me. She's smarter than all the women. Right? She's better than every woman in the world. That's my girl, and I'm proud of her. You see? That kind of feeling is like, and she is a beauty. That makes sense. I remember hearing a story, I'll say it quickly, of these islanders who would give cows for wives. And if she was really desirable, really attractive, she'd command a lot of cows from to the father, right? And there was this one woman who was kind of like, this one girl who nobody wanted on this island, and she was like always covered up, and she was like, bent over like this, and timid and afraid, and she wasn't attractive, didn't have attractive qualities, and so everybody expected she'd get maybe one cow from her father. And this young man came along and said, and normally like a high prized wife was like 10 cows, and he said, for her, I'm going to give 20 cows. And the villagers were all shocked. It's a apocryphal story. Villagers were all shocked. And a year later they saw her, and she was this most glowing, vibrant beauty, the beauty of the islands. And I said, what happened? What happened? It was because she's a 10 cow or 20 cow wife. She's not a 1 cow wife. The way he saw her. And she became that. I really do believe that, I wrote in the beginning this about beauty needs a witness. And if you really see that, you really try and get out of your normal, life sucks, my job sucks, everything sucks, and the world's beating me up and not being fair to me. Get out of that kind of like thinking. And instead look for beauty and cast away things that don't feel like beauty. Your job, your obligations, not your commitments, your obligations. And look for the beauty in what you have. Look for the beauty and the gratitude and the grace in what you have, and call it forth. Because as leaders, this is what the calling is. I wrote that, and this is very much a leadership call, especially in the end here. And it isn't a call to guys who go out there and lead a club or lead I don't know. It's a call to leadership of yourself and to make choices of leading your perspectives and leading how you want things to be in your relationship, for instance. To lead it by saying, I choose beauty and I want to see you as a beauty. So be my beauty.
So we've been talking about intimacy.
Keep going off.
How deep do you guys think we are in the ocean right now?
Well, we're definitely swimming in different directions, that's for sure.
I think I saw Owen over there.
Yeah.
I think we're drifting apart a bit.
Shark after him. Oh boy. I could talk and talk and talk and talk, believe me. And it's all a mix of really absolute things I say and a mix of like, oof, wow, what a glorious opportunity to learn things that we have.
Yeah.
How exciting is that? That we can learn new ways of being and share that and talk about it, and what else is there?
It's a beautiful thing. And I'll say something about my job just because we're on the subject of beauty, and I was just thinking about it as you were talking about it. I drifted off a little bit. But I have the luxury of operating a machine that sits about 60 metres above the earth. And the last job I had was actually overlooking the Broadwater back in Australia on the Gold Coast. And you see boats going up and down.
Oh, wow.
You get binoculars. You can look at the girls on the street.
Wow.
But I remember one time there's like a little inlet, and then the Broadwater goes along the length of the beach.
Yeah.
And you can see dolphins going up and down the Broadwater.
And you get to sit up there and you're
Just looking at it.
Lofty
Beautiful,
perch.
beautiful blue water, beach, girls.
see that kind of thing would just like to me that's profound. I would think, wow,
How lucky am I?
how lucky am I?
And they're giving me money to do this. Like, what?
That's those big building cranes, right?
Yeah, right.
Wow,
There's a scene
that's great.
There's a scene in that book that you recommend, the Memoirs of a Buccaneer.
Uh-huh.
The French guy says guy in France and sells himself into slavery because he's bored of working at home in 17th century France and becomes a slave, and then kills the owner of the ranch and becomes a pirate and takes over a succession of boats until he's got a fleet of 40 pirates, and he sails around the Caribbean. And he talks about after a battle, he was coming back and everyone was weary and tired after like 5 days of cannon fire and gunpowder and all that kind of stuff. And he's sailing across the ocean onto the next place, and he finally puts his arms behind his back and has a mug of rum beside him, and he says, in that moment I started to see these two dolphins, and they swam behind us.
Oh, yeah.
Across the ocean, and they just followed our boat all the way out, and he's there like, finally I'm seeing beauty, after all this wild adventure. And then the author writes in the footnotes, but there's never been any recorded sightings of dolphins in this part of the Caribbean. So the author must have been either hallucinating or making things up for the sake of his memoirs.
That's some good rum.
That's some grog, man. That's grog. Ship grog.